Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Unverified Accounts Pod. We didn't get to finish off our conversation last week, so here is the rest of the episode. Thank you for listening.
What was the question though? You were gonna just ask how I feel about that, or
Yeah, you answered it.
yeah, that's interesting though. Hmm. I'm sorry, I'm not there yet. I I'm not even at giving up a cuss word for Lent yet. I need to really step outside of my own material and bodily needs and maybe feed the spirit a little more. But I'm sorry because just love a good damn every now and then. I love me a good greasy meal. I need to the purpose is not to give up something that's easy. I get that part because if that was the case, I'm giving up broccoli or something. Like, I don't know. But we'll get there. It's just a lot. This is a very loaded topic for me.
hmm
And I know my mom is listening to this episode, so don't push me, please, mother. I know you love asking me if I'm gonna come to church. We're working. It's a process. You know me. I don't move till I know something. That's why I'm stuck. Amen. All right. Anything else we wanted to hit on?
Another thing that I've been seeing a lot of is a couple of, I don't want to call them extreme, but they don't like celebrate Easter, Christmas, because they're pagan holidays. Which
Mm,
I'm kind of like, that is kind of true because we don't know the exact day Jesus was born. We don't, and
mhm.
Easter changes every year based on the lunar, whatever, whatever.
Yeah,
So
and
I'm like,
honestly, a lot of the holidays are like they're so I understand that. I just have to do more research as to that. But to
mhm,
me, there isn't always, I feel like now we live in a time where people always try to dissect and find something wrong with everything.
mhm,
Like we know the history of Thanksgiving. I'm sorry, I'm still gonna give me a fried turkey, some mac and cheese. So like maybe it's not the meaning. To me, it's like you have to differentiate the initial meaning of it. Like now, don't get me wrong, there's some things where it's like the the root and the history of it plays a big part and it is a big deal. But there's some things to where as long as me in my heart, in my mind, I'm celebrating a religion for a certain reason, I feel like, yes, maybe there's certain, but there's facts and history and backstories to everything, most things that
mhm,
may not have the exact meaning you think or may have a slightly dark side. For me, it's how you honor whatever it is you're doing. Now, yes, don't just go out and say, oh, well, I know that 100 people died this day, but I'm celebrating it because it's the lunar eclipse. Like, okay, yeah. But when it comes to things like Thanksgiving and Easter, it's like if I'm celebrating this because it is to give thanks to the things that I have in life or to my family, okay. If I'm celebrating Christmas because it's Jesus's season, okay. Sometimes it's like you have to let that be. Not saying that it's necessarily right. Like, well, Jesus was not born this day, and why are we giving gifts when we should be like, okay, yes, but at the same time, as long as it's not something that's like you're just blatantly ignoring a historical fact,
mhm.
then it should be like
You're not hurting anybody by it. So,
I feel like everybody it just looks for things now to be like, oh no, and
oh,
the
don't listen to
woke people.
Beyonce because such and such. And if you listen to Beyonce, you're going to hell. If you listen to, like, I'm just like, how?
But these are the same people who can't answer. Like, I know people like who will say certain things. And to me, yes, there are so many things in the world that have a dark backstory. You look at your government, y'all still gonna pay your taxes. You still gonna go vote. we don't know if those votes really getting counted. I'ma still vote. I'ma still make sure. At least the least I do is get that little sticker. Okay. But
Mhm.
it's like for me, as long as I'm doing what if I do it with a good heart, like there's dark things behind so many things that we don't know or that people just don't want us to know. So, yes, is the Illuminati real? Probably. I'm not gonna lie. Probably something to it. It might not be the whole, all of the symbols and all that we're thinking, but yeah, it's probably something to it. So for me though, it's like if I'm not sitting here and somebody's literally in my face, like, oh heck, like, okay, if I sometimes ignorance is bliss. To me, it's like if I give my money to somebody on the corner and they go buy drugs, and I didn't buy the drugs for them. I'm not the
Yeah.
cause of their, like, so if I'm listening to this person because these certain lyrics, okay, if the lyrics have a subliminal message that I just don't see, at what point is that my fault? Like, at what point is this whole group of people going to hell because they listened to this and didn't see this sign and didn't do that research? Sometimes, I mean, the devil is, they say the devil in disguise. He don't just be standing there in your face like, hey girl, you want to come downstairs with me? Like there's always a disguise. So if I'm trusting in this friend and they turn out to be a snake in the grass, like, is that my fault or is that this person, this, megastar, for being involved in that and for trying to invoke certain things on people and their spirits or whatever you want to say? But it's like the people who say this are the same people that can't answer me a simple question. I ask you something about, because I look at you as, okay, they're really religious. It seems like, she's getting her life together, or if I ask you something and you can't answer it, not saying that everyone can articulate things or that you just know everything just because this is something you believe in, but the same folks telling you, well, you can't do this, and I don't listen to this, and I don't eat that, and I don't watch this, and I only listen to this, and I only drive my car on Wednesdays and on Sunday. Like, but you're the same one that can't even tell me if I was born Muslim or atheist, if I will make it to heaven. It's just like, it's not adding up. It's not. It's not. So I feel like you got to take certain things with a grain of salt. I could go on and on forever. I'm sure you can tell because I feel like our ratios of talking is like 10 to 1, Micayla, half the time. And one day I'm gonna shut up and let you have 50 minutes just to yourself. But yeah, it's just such a iffy subject. Ugh, I hate it. I feel like it's religion also like makes you put a lot of pressure on yourself to do things or not do things that are not necessarily unrealistic, but literally nobody's perfect.
I would say for me, it's like people are always like, uh, your gift should like put God in your gift, and I'm like, how do I put God into sewing? Like, I don't see how those two things correlate. Um, and it always frustrates me because I'm like, everyone keeps saying that, but it's just like, make it make sense for me because
I mean,
it's not making sense.
that doesn't even necessarily mean literally like incorporate, but it could just mean like if you do something and it's successful or something. Oh, well, I'm rich now. I can give back, or I can, like, you don't, it doesn't
I
necessarily
know
mean
that, but
I'm
it makes me feel like it needs to be
yeah.
like, I'm only doing designs for church. Like, you know what I'm saying?
I'm only making robes.
And then the whole thing, the whole thing about
It's
like,
not your robes.
what is it? What is it called? Like, modesty.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one that's been like, because I, it's kind of crazy because to people I go to church with, or like I've grown up in church with, for them, I don't dress modest. But to people I'm friends with, I dress modest. So I just like I feel like modesty should be up to your own discernment. Because I know like when I feel uncomfortable with something, like wearing something like this is too short, I feel uncomfortable, then I'm like, I should not be wearing this. But if I don't feel that way, I'm gonna wear it. And I know there's like certain times and places for everything. Like I'm not gonna wear a mini skirt to church.
Right.
I'm not gonna wear a mini skirt to work, but to go to a flea market and look cute, I'm gonna wear a mini skirt. Like
And
like
look cute.
so I just feel like I don't know. I just always my parents are not well, they are. My parents and my grandparents are like my grandmother. My grandfather, he doesn't see my outfits. He doesn't care. He thinks I'm great. But they're always like, "How short is that? How when I'm making something, when are you gonna make something long?" Well, first of all, you're not my target market. Sorry, mom. Sorry, grandma. Uh, hate to
This is
say
not for Sister Mary Clarence.
that. So,
Yeah, I wanted to go back to when you were talking about like incorporating God in your gifts. For
mm,
me, it's not that, but like I haven't really thought about this in a minute, but like, people say if you don't use the gifts God gives you, he'll take them away. Girl, do you know how many times I've sat here like, if I go back to school now, am I gonna be able to make it? Did he take my IQ? Did he take my brain cell?
I don't
Because
think that's what that meant at all. I've
not
heard
literally, but
if you don't use the gifts God give you, he'll give them to someone else. And for me, it's like I'll
I
have
heard take.
ideas to make something or whatever, and I
Mhm,
will sit there and not make it because I just like am so hesitant. I don't believe in myself, blah 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 blah.
mhm,
And then I'll see it walking down the runway, and I'm like,
mhm.
oh, so I am smart. I am gifted. It's just
Yeah.
I need to
I
actually do the work.
yeah, I definitely get that. Like, if you don't use them, he'll give them to somebody else because it's so many people in the world. Like,
Hmm.
surely if you're not gonna use it and flaunt it and strut it. But no, I've heard if you don't use them, he gonna take them. Snatch cease.
I haven't heard
Okay.
that one.
I've heard that. And I'm just like, take, take, sir. You mean to tell me, is that why the last thing I tried to paint, I had no creative ability at all? And I stopped and I was like, what's going on? Haven't painted since then because I was just like, I've never been this uncreative. Please, God, don't take that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm half illiterate now. Wow, my way with words, it's not gone. I know I still have that, but it's like treacherous. So yeah, I definitely heard that. And it's like, I know they be talking about the wrath of God, but dang, I just got a little anxiety. You gave that to me too. Oh my God. Don't even get me started with religion and the mental health.
Oh
That's a
gosh.
whole
My
nother
mom will
topic.
always say that uh stop saying that you have anxiety because we're not claiming that. God didn't give that to you. I'm like, but the
And
doctor
that's the thing.
diagnosed me with anxiety and depression. I don't know what you want.
But that's the other thing is okay, anxiety, right? Am I an anxious spirit because God gave that to me, or because I'm not leaning enough into God and don't have enough faith and trust so that I can be just calm, a walking bottle of Xanax? It's just like it's so many things where I'm just like, okay, God gave you sickle cell though. Like, I'm just saying, like, like God gave you a whole lot of stuff. He gave you dyslexia too. But me, he could have just given me a little anxiety. Like, okay. It's just, and then, the whole, oh my gosh, just pray. Now, this is not me mocking the power of prayer. However, sometimes it's just like,
Don't get me started on that because I can go on a whole rant about not having a job for how many months and just like working retail for 6 months, working like like I was just at a point where, I didn't want to be costuming anymore. I didn't like that. And I was praying for something else, like interviewing,
Mm-hmm.
interviewing, interviewing, praying that something would come to me. Like what is meant for me is for me. I believe that. But at the same time, why are you having me get to the second, third round of interviews when they're about to make their decision and then I don't get it? Like how much hurt are you going to give to me? Because
Mm-hmm.
all these no's are getting like really annoying. And then my job ends at 911, season ends, strike happens. So there is no other costuming jobs. Like I worked 2 weeks on one show, and then after those 2 weeks were over, writers are on strike. A couple weeks later, actors are on strike, and then for months and months and months, nobody is doing anything in
Mm-hmm.
terms of entertainment. I mean, I worked on some stuff for like Facebook, but in between that time, I was just struggling working retail and applying for jobs and keep getting told no every time I went to interview for a job. And then I was like, okay, well, let me fashion isn't working. Let me try fashion PR. Did that, worked myself literally 7 days a week for like almost 2 months until I got so physically sick and exhausted. I had to quit one job because I was literally, my lymph nodes were swollen and I was upset because I couldn't go see Beyonce because I was so
Oh yeah,
sick.
child.
So it's just like how much prayer, like my mom would always be like, well, you just need to pray about it. You just need to pray about it. I'm like, I am praying and crying, like bawling my, I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
cry, I'm not gonna cry, I'm not gonna cry. Bawling my eyes out every single night, like every single day. Like I'm calling you in between, like on my breaks at work crying. I'm like, it could be my lunch break or a 15-minute break. I'm calling somebody and crying. I've called you and cried about it because I'm like, I just feel stuck here and I'm frustrated that I stayed here
Mm-hmm.
because so many people were like, going back home is not going to do anything for you. Don't just make a rash decision right now saying you don't want to work in entertainment and then the strike is over sooner than you know it and you want to be back there. When I knew in my heart a month into working that I didn't want to be doing this much longer. Like after the season was over, I'm getting up out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I'm just like, I hate when people tell me or tell anyone, well, you just need to pray about it because it's like, don't you know I have been praying? Don't you know how many times I have
Yeah.
literally cried,
And it's like,
begged, pleaded for a change and haven't gotten anything?
and it's also like there's a lot in life that is beyond your control, but sometimes like telling someone to pray about it isn't necessarily like it's obviously not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is sometimes when somebody says pray about it, it feels like, oh, so I'm doing something wrong, or oh, my faith isn't strong enough. Or to me, sometimes things are just completely out of your control. And I know that's why they say let go and let God, right? But the whole thing too is this is still like I'm still here on earth trying to, yes, give your problems to God, let go, let God, pray about it, pray about it, pray about it, pray about it. Things happen. God makes stuff move. He makes shit shake. Okay. But there's this part that makes it seem like if you're telling me pray about it, it seems to me that everything is out of my control. I have no handle on anything. It's just, well, let me sit back and let them do it. Not saying that that doesn't happen or that you
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't or you can't do that and it work out, but it's just like it's so I don't know.
I don't
It's
know
like
because
it
it would.
makes me feel like something it's like it's me,
Mm-hmm.
which not saying that it isn't, because like I said, I'm still very much at the beginning of my spiritual journey. So it very well could be me. I could get to the point where I'm 60, like he was right. I was not applying myself. I should have prayed a couple more times. But it's also like sometimes it just seems like not insensitive, but it's like a lot of people they just just pray about it. Just like just
Mm-hmm.
okay. And it's like I get that that's yes, I should. But it's also like sometimes you want to do things and this once again I mean, it's usually God's way. So a lot of times it's not you, but it's like sometimes you want to be able to, for you, send this application in, get this, and not saying that God wasn't the one that made that happen, but it's different in putting an application in, getting an interview, getting the job. Okay, God made that happen, but you feel like you also had your foot in there. Like you also feel like, because the same way they say you can't pray without doing the work. So it's like, okay, I put this application in, I'm doing the work. So yes, maybe this is God that got me this job. But then if I'm putting applications in and nothing is working and nothing was working, well, just pray about it. Like, okay.
Yeah,
It's like
it's like a cycle.
such a thin line between doing something about it while also still giving credit to the man up there. And also leaning into him, but still like it's just such a, I don't know, it's such a weird gray area for me. And I think that's my problem. I have a bad issue with gray areas. Gray areas like make my brain just shut down because it just does
Mhm.
not make sense to me. Because both can be true. You can do both and both be right or both be wrong. Like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. Jeez, I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes I get like frustrated because I
Hmm.
feel like as a little kid, everything I prayed for kind of happened, but I don't, I'm also just a kid, so what do I know? Like,
Yeah. And it's also like we know that everything you pray for isn't necessarily going to be given to you because maybe
hmm
that's really not what you need. Maybe you need to go through certain things before something happens to be able to build certain things in yourself. And I try to tell myself that even though it's not like, oh, I just stopped going to school because I got sick and couldn't go. It's like, no, I just left. So it's like, okay, maybe this is somehow building me, or I'll be that much more grateful when I finish school or when I'm successful and
hmm
I can look back and be like, wow, I really didn't know what was going on there for a second. But
yeah.
like, I don't know. This whole
I've
this
been
whole
like
religion is
asking
just crazy.
for guidance because I just
Hmm.
feel like so lost in life right now. Like,
Mm.
I feel like I've been lost for maybe like 14 months now at this point.
Oof. I thought you were going to say 4 years. I was about to be like, I'm
No,
getting my flight now.
no, because
Yeah.
like I feel like I knew I wanted to go in fashion, got into my dream school, got into another school, went to that school, conquered everything, student of the year for the department 2 years in a row, fashion show winner, won NC State fashion show, graduated what magna cum laude, like was in the honors program, all this stuff. And then I was struggling, like couldn't get a job. Like then I was finally able to get a job, and then I got another job offer from another place, whatever. Then I move out here and I'm like, okay, I don't like this. And then I'm like, okay, I don't like that either. Okay, I don't like what I'm doing right now either. So like what am I supposed to be doing? Like, can I have some type of clarity? Can you guide me towards the right direction? Like I
Mhm.
just I don't know. Like I just feel like I haven't done what I was meant to do in life. Like my grandmother was telling me like I need to stop saying like so much. I hate that I say it that much.
Right.
Um she was telling me that I was telling her like I don't like my job. I don't like that I'm not being really challenged. I feel like nowhere everything I do I'm not being challenged and I'm just like bored all the time because
Hmm.
I keep having to do these mindless things because I'm in an entry level position because I'm so early on in my career.
Hmm.
Um and she was telling me that basically that's just what life is and you're going to have to do it because everyone has to do it. And I'm just like there just can't be any type of way where I'm just like there's no way that I'm meant to be like all I do at work is check in packages. I file okay, this is a button from spring summer 24. It's men's. Let me put it in that binder. This is a zipper from fall winter 23. I got to take it downstairs, go put it in those like that's not like that's like
Yeah.
mindless work. And
It's
I don't
also
think
like,
people go ahead.
no, finish. I don't want to interrupt.
I don't even know. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. No, I was gonna say, I feel like also though, you know that you're not going to be doing that forever.
Yeah,
So
I
it's like
know, but it's also
kind of
like
gotta weather that storm because I feel like
yeah.
not wherever you go, but like a lot of places you're gonna start out not necessarily being so like, okay, put this in this box and check this and do,
Mhm.
but it's gonna be something that's still, I feel like, beneath or underneath your true capabilities. And it might not challenge you at first, but it gets you in the room with the people
Yeah,
that
but
you
I'm like, I don't
yeah.
even think I want to be in this room. I
Mm,
don't really, I'm like working at a company. I miss having like creative input and working in a creative environment that isn't so stagnant. Like
mm-hmm,
it's just everything has to be done this way because it has to be done this way. Like I don't miss costuming, but I miss that environment. Like I loved when I was working on sets like with the stylist because that was just fun.
mm-hmm.
But it's hard to get into those roles. So I really wanted a steady job because freelancing was rough because you don't know when your next job is going to be. It was just whatever. So I don't even know what I was kind of saying anymore at this point, but I don't know. I'm lost.
Okay, this doesn't have really anything to do with like what we've been talking about for the last few
Hmm.
minutes, but I do have another thing. Like, I hate when like somebody who is comfortable in their religion and is strong in their faith and all of that, and it's like sometimes I feel as if like, okay, don't do that. Like I feel like you it's like talking down, like, oh, well, you wouldn't get it, but once you don't do that. Like, oh
Hmm.
well, I had to go through that too. And once you or well, you wouldn't get it because you're who are you talking to? Because now I feel like you're saying that I like if I'm asking questions, you can explain to me, you can do like I hate when it's something or like people are so quick to like, oh well, that's like I remember I told a few people. I'm not going to talk about the actual situation that this happened in because that's a whole nother episode. And I feel like going there right now. But a few years ago, it was this time where it was a little rough patch in life. But I remember it was this one day where I was in the car with my mom and I was thinking about something. And okay, you know how people like talk about angel numbers and all of this and all that.
Hmm.
So I didn't believe in that stuff until this day. And I remember like I was telling people like, oh my gosh, I was in the car with my mom. I remember we were driving to my grandparents' house because my mom would take care of them all that. So every single car I looked at, it was not one that did not fall in line. Every car I looked at had triple numbers 0001112223333. I look at the building 555. I look like anywhere I started playing a game. I started like looking out the window and I'd be like 1, 2, 3. And I'd look at a license plate and it was 11122233344, whatever it was, right? And this was as I'm like, you know how when you're in the car and you're just thinking about stuff or whatever. This happened at that same time, and I'm just like, this is real. But I remember I told a couple people that, and they're like, no, that's the devil, girl. Those angel numbers, they're not of God. It's the devil, it's this, is that. Can you let me have my moment? Like, I'm telling you a story, and I'm telling you, like, and that's the other thing. Like, you know that with certain people, I guess now with everyone, because this is a podcast, but with certain people, I'm open about my whole religion and relationship and all of that. So when I'm talking to people who know that I'm questioning and that I'm like want to know, but I'm still
Mm-hmm.
hesitant, and I'm telling you this, and you're like, hate to say it, but that's not God. Hate to say it, that's the devil. Like, if that's the truth, it's not that I'm mad at the truth. It's just okay, there's a way to say it. You can be like, I don't really believe that's of God. That might be the devil, the devil be disguising himself too. Da, da, da. Like, okay, yes, that's true. But to me, well, shoot, if that's the devil, don't that mean there's God? Or I'm tripping.
That's I just read something. It was like
Am I
even
tripping?
even Satan believed in God or believes in God.
Yeah, and it's like, so my whole thing is that's the other thing. Like, people are so quick to anything is. Ooh, I didn't need to make that noise. Charge my computer back. Anything that's not 100% in the Bible, in here, in there, is like that's the devil or this. Now, don't get me wrong. Yes, certain things like maybe you sprinkling salt on this, and on the seventh day you're putting like, okay, yeah. Once we start mixing potions, okay, I'm not gonna say that that's the devil's work or that, but I'll be like, okay, okay. But when it comes to numbers, and it's like, no, that's not God. That's like, I wasn't necessarily saying like, oh yes, I saw 333. This means that God loves me and I love him. And okay, I'm telling you a story. I didn't have to tell you this story, and you're like, oh no, that's the devil, girl. Silly rabbit. That's the devil, girl. I don't know why and it's like, I feel like there's so many people like that who, like, without realizing it, they are very well intentioned, but without realizing it, it's like, okay, thanks for discouraging me. Thanks for making me
Mhm.
feel stupid. Like, ugh. And it's like, they may not mean to be, but it comes off very judgmental. It comes off very condescending. It comes off very much like you don't know what you're talking about. But I was mad because I'm like, how you gonna tell me? I feel like this was God showing up for me, and you gonna tell me, okay, so I'm
Well,
like, all
I
right,
feel like that's why I don't tell people about like my dreams
because they're quick to witchcraft.
because
She's a witch.
I didn't even tell my mother until my
Uh-huh.
sister told me that my mom has them. And that's
Mm,
how she got in trouble one time because my mom had a dream about it and
that's
called
crazy,
her mom about it. Yeah.
and it was for real.
So, yeah. So it was
It
just like
makes you wonder what dreams your mama be having that she don't tell
I
you.
know
Like,
that's what I like scares me because I'm like,
that's
am I
crazy.
protected from her? Because she never told me about this. So, and I've never felt like she knew things about me that I didn't tell her.
Tell her,
But
but she might be withholding.
I'm a very open person. Like
Uh,
I don't really I mean there are some very major things that have happened that I have hidden that she did not know about and she still does not know about and
mhm.
if it's my way she will never know about.
Not if it's my way. If it's my way, I'll be dead before she finds out.
Because this stuff I regret telling her
Hmm.
stuff already, but it's for those who don't know, I don't tell people this. I remember this. This is the way I remember it. When I was a kid, loved That So Raven, and I prayed one night, I want to have visions and dreams like that one day too. Like, can I want that. Um, I don't remember the timeline, but I started having dreams, and then months, weeks, years later, I will see everything that like happened in those dreams. Like my dreams will be very, very vivid, um, like very specific, but I won't understand it. Like I remember dreaming about like being at a picnic, family was there, whatever, but it wasn't like I couldn't tell that it was family reunion until later that summer we went to family reunion. I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen and this and this and this, and it happens.
That's crazy.
And
I'm
that's
not
like
jealous, but I'm jealous.
I know you've called me before when I was like in a parking
Mm.
garage and I was like,
Yes.
oh, something bad is gonna happen because I remember being on this
Did
level.
something bad happen though? Because if
It
it did, you
wasn't
didn't tell
bad.
me.
but it wasn't good either. Yeah, it
'Cause I
wasn't like nobody was
remember,
hurt or anything, but
mhm.
it was just annoying.
I remember that day because I remember I was at work and I went to the bathroom and then you were like, wait, I remember you said this in a dream before. And I'm like, well, Sydney, you're always making returns at that mall. Like you're probably, she's like, no, I haven't parked here before. I'm like, oh, well, that is kind of odd.
Yeah.
And I hate to say it, it might be, okay, I feel like it's kind of like anything in life where people look at it like, oh, that
Mhm.
seems so cool. But it's also like, not really. Cause sometimes it's like, I wish I didn't know that. I feel like, if I feel like you live something out and then it's like, oh, I had this dream and now you know what's gonna happen. I feel like that kind of
I
would be
well, the thing is,
like,
I don't necessarily always remember the outcome.
mm,
Sometimes I'll just like I'll remember bits and pieces of the scenario, but it isn't until I'm in that moment and I'll be like, oh, now
yes.
everything's clicking and I remember my dream and I can remember what's about to play out right now.
Have you had any dreams about me before?
No, not that I haven't had a dream in a
Girl,
minute though.
I was about to treat you like a psychic. I was about to be like, okay, were you at my wedding?
Girl, no.
Where were we, Sydney? Were we at
I'm
my baby
hoping I have
shower?
dreams that about stuff like that soon because I'm like
Oh,
not
I'm gonna need you
soon,
to
but
be
like
like, we
I
were
want
at your college graduation, Micayla. You got your degree. I'm gonna be like, what year was it? 2093. Oh, okay. Are you sure that was
girl.
right, Sydney? You sure that wasn't your great granddaughter's grand?
Mm-mm.
Like, was I just maybe I was there? Yeah. Well, let me know if you ever have a dream. But does that like jinx it? Like, if you have a dream about somebody and then you tell them, like, do you have to just let it play out?
I usually never tell
Yeah, I was about to say, I
anybody
feel like
because I don't
you
because
shouldn't
I
say
as
anything.
someone who's watched That So Raven, I feel like telling them whether you tell them or
Because it
don't is
never
gonna
turns out,
happen. So
it
I
never
just let it
turns
happen
out.
and try not to make a fool of myself
That would,
when it
yeah,
happens.
yeah, that's crazy. Cause Raven, she sure used to get me, and then you looking at that episode like, oh my God, no.
She never learned. That's it used to upset me because I'm like, girl, you keep making it happen and looking stupid. Okay, so I think that's all we have for this episode. I know we could go on and on and on and on and on,
On and on and
like
on
Erica
and on.
Badu says. Um, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you're watching it on YouTube. You can follow us on Instagram at unverified.pod. We're on TikTok as well at unverified.pod. And we're on YouTube as unverified.podcast. Or you can just search up unverified podcast and it should come up. So, yeah, thank you so much
Yes,
for
get our
listening.
TikTok up, y'all. Please
Please.
boost it, please.
We'll see you next episode. Bye.
Bye.